Good morning, everybody. My name is Gene Coltaz, presiding member for today's meeting. I declare the meeting open at 9:33 a.m. So I acknowledge we're hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respect to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. This meeting will be run in accordance with MIDAP Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulations 2011. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the MIDAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development Regulations 2011. During the meeting, panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. At the meeting today on the panel, myself as presiding member, to my left Karen Hyde, deputy presiding member, to her left is Luigi D'Alessandro, specialist member, Councillor Kate Barlow from the town of Cambridge, and Mayor Gary Mack from the town of Cambridge. Apologies, I have Councillor Ben Mays from town of Cambridge. Item 3, members on leave of absence, there are none. Item 4, noting minutes, they are available for DAPs on the DAP website. Today, I will ask under Part B of the agenda to have all panel members confirm they've duly considered all of the documentation contained within Part B of the agenda and Part B related information by raising their hands, please. That's unanimous, thank you. Disclosures of interest, I've had none presented. And councillors, was this item considered at a council meeting at all?
Town of Cambridge, no.
Okay, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, therefore, is the application for 8 group dwellings at number 9 Abbotsford Street, West Leederville. We have presentations today from Mr. Ken Perry and Mr. Alan Stewart. Mr. Perry, would you like to make your presentation, please? We have 3 minutes for it, don't we?
Thank you for the opportunity to address the panel today. I support the recommendation, as this seems to be a rare beast that is a project which complies with planning. Congratulations. I took the opportunity, therefore, to come along today to explain the way in which I view the date for substantial commencement as a financial option and what the value of that financial option is. At the heart of that lies the valuation of development bonuses, which have not been offset by tangible community benefits, incremental to what a compliant project would do. And I use the example of the Chellingworth project in Stirling Highway, Nedlands. I have fully explained, therefore, the way in which I see this work and why there's no need for someone who owns a property with a compliant project to have a restricted commencement date. So I'll put that one aside. Happy to take questions if that's what I've written is not clear. 2 fish got up in the morning, were swimming around, and one says to the other, the water's cold today. The other one says, what's water? They didn't see the system in which they were operating, and that's where you are today. The system that we have at the moment in Western Australia is biased by the way in which it's been constructed. And I believe as responsible members operating within that system, those biases need to be brought forward so that you can consider them. It's a systemic problem. The people are not biased. The system in which they operate is biased. And let me just point out some of the areas. One is the stripping of the role of the council from considerations of planning matters in their community. We recently had a proposal approved, 23 stories in City Beach. An outrageous, in my view, stripping away of the property rights of the people in the surrounding areas. It dismissed the value of the, I think, 3-year-old WAPC approved local planning scheme for the area, and just granted an enormous level of development bonuses to the Blackburn Property Group. Never have a problem with the developers. Their job is to make money. Why do they seek development bonuses? Because the value of those things are real. Where the major bias is in the system is that the system does not recognise where that value comes from. Clearly, the only place it can come from is from the shared amenity of the community and the surrounding areas. That's real value. Why do they? So the system is a seesaw. What's lacking is the weight up here, which is the value of community interests and community property rights. It's huge, and it needs to be reconsidered. Without that, the major bias within the system will continue. That's all I need to say today, and I'd also like to congratulate one of the panel members today on the way in which his council is operating. You guys get it, you really do, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Do any panel members have questions of Mr. Perry? No? Thank you. Mr. Alan Stewart.
Presiding member, good morning, everyone. We also have the architect here today as well, if you have any design-related questions. I think I can be reasonably good today, hopefully. This is a really good proposal, 8 group dwellings, slightly different typology with living areas off the ground, and really well endorsed by the design review panel after a couple of presentations to them. So we're very pleased with the outcome there, and we thank the town for their support for this project. So as you know, it's a recommendation for conditional approval. We're generally happy with the conditions that are in front of you. I've suggested in my submission some changes to conditions 1, 7 and 8. Condition 1 is just to replace the 2-year commencement period of 4 years, which I think is generally consistent with your approach under the regulations. Conditions 7 and 8, they relate to the retention of trees on the site. And I do need to say from day one, our client supported retention of trees on this property, and we've never tried to steer away from that. We engaged a tree survey, an arborist to do a tree survey before we designed and lodged the DA. And then we subsequently had the arborist go out and do the more detailed route mapping of a number of the trees, which had slightly greater incursions into the tree protection zones. And that second study was at the request of the time. So we've done all that. There's 9 fairly large trees on this property. Originally, we planned to keep 6 of them. We're now looking at retaining 5 of them. After that further route mapping report was done, there was 1 tree which it was looking a bit suspect, so we've gone with the retention of the 5 trees, all of which were identified as having retention value. So that with the suggested or requested changes to conditions, I think they're more procedural or administrative in nature. In terms of condition 7, we're proposing that delete the words the development and add the word construction after. What that basically means is that we monitor the works prior to and during construction of the development. And I think as presently worded, it seems to suggest that there has to be that ongoing monitoring forever for the life of the development, which could be 30, 40 years down the track. We don't feel that's reasonable. I don't think that's the intent of the condition. And condition 8 covers off any damage or tree replacement that might be required, after the building's constructed. So I think condition 8 covers that ongoing period in perpetuity. Condition 7, we're suggesting it just be tidied up so that the requirement to monitor is limited to it should be approved from today until completion of construction. Condition 8, probably the main change I'm seeking today is deletion of the last section of condition 8. In the second line, again, adding the words construction of prior to the development. But then the main change is deletion of the last section of condition 8 that talks about replacing trees with a scale appropriate to the original tree to the town's satisfaction. These trees are very big. They're up to 20 metres high. I don't really think it's practical to require, trees to be replaced to that scale. And again, this could happen in 20 years' time. Others are not here looking at this. So I think it's just a more practical way in which we can implement conditions 7 and 8. So that's the extent of the changes we're seeking today. And hopefully you can support that.
Thanks very much, Mr. Stewart. Panel members, any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Just one question, Mr. Stewart, with respect to clause 8 and the scale appropriate. Would there be rather than deleting it, would there be another word that would be acceptable to you in terms of the tree replacement? Other than deleting them.
I guess you could have a comment, with a mature species, or I haven't thought about a minimum of a pot size. We're not trying to say we replace it with a tiny little seedling. It's just, to replace it with something that's 10, 15, 20 metres high, eucalypt and the like, it's going to be tricky, especially if it's in 10, 15 years' time when there's 8 different strata owners involved.
So really, if we delete it with a suitable, and we put in there afterwards suitable mature tree species appropriate to the original tree to the satisfaction of the town, would wording of that nature be suitable to you?
Yeah, look, I think it's about what's going to be practical and reasonable if we're thinking ahead quite a few years.
Okay.
Sorry, one other question.
Just go right ahead.
Very quickly. And so the intention is not to commit. I think just to restate, your intention was to commence building in 4 years rather than 2. So when do you intend to commence construction?
I'm sure our client intends to progress with haste, and I believe perhaps you may well have had discussions and be very keen to go ahead. I'm sure 2 years would be fine, but the normal approach for DAP applications is 4 years.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Yes, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Just in terms of the definition of this development as a group, it's on survey strata, but I presume there's some common area or there are party walls to make it defined as a grouped.
Yes, and I know this is an issue that DAPs have dealt with recently. It's not presently on a strata. It is a single lot at present.
Yes.
It will be a service strata, but there is 100% common property involved in this. Through the southern side, it's all common property to the entry to each dwelling, and there'll be a common property strip abutting the laneway as well. So there's no question on this occasion that they're not cross-guards.
All right, thank you for that answer. Second question, either for you or for your architect, just looking at the landscape plan, which is attachment 6, there's quite a lot of hard detailing in there, a lot of gravel in there. Just wondering what the rationale for that was and why it wasn't as deep soil area, further planted soft materials.
Well, it's a difficult one for me to answer. I mean, there is obviously where we've got a lot of trees retained, I think there is some decent deep soil around the trees. I might turn to Vadim and see if he had any involvement with Realm.
So in the first design for DRP1, we did actually have a lot more greenery on the southern side. The landscape architects in the DRP noted that it will be in some heavy shade and some portions of the day, and to replace it with natives that are less water sensitive and more of a ornamental mulch, ornamental stone landscape design as well.
Okay, all right, thank you. Nothing more from me, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. No further questions. Perhaps we can now move to the council staff to Ian Smith and Ahmed Pithel, see if they've got any comment to make regarding the presentations initially. Or panel members, if you've got any questions, specifically changes to the recommended conditions. Sure. Okay, do you have any comment to make about the suggested rewording?
No.
And any objections to the
Questions. I think the end of condition 8, which was the mature trees to mature tree to the satisfaction of the town.
that's a change to the condition.
Yeah. I think it's-
Okay. Okay, any questions? Yes, Karen.
Okay, thank you. Did you consider a time frame in terms of those conditions? Condition 8, I mean, obviously doesn't have a time frame associated with it at the moment.
I don't believe that a time frame for that is relevant, because it's well, if the tree does not survive and it's over a period of time, then it would be circumstantial on that.
I will add to it. The town's parks officer were more concerned about the implications of should there be an incident where the tree would face some like serious obstructions, or like it will fall down in a stormwater, like the worst case scenario considered, then it would implicate the adjoining town's assets too. That was like the consideration when we were trying to give out the condition, as well as there was also a concern for short-hole borer species that could be replaced with the existing trees. Those were the main criteria for 7 and 8 condition that we initially thought of. But after hearing the explanation from the applicant, we're happy to like amend.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm right. I'm not pretty content with this.
Okay. All right, Luke, do you have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. We'll make them into due course. Okay, well, we've got to go and debate on the item. So in order to do so, can I get a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Okay, thank you. Yes, Mayor Mac, if you'd like to speak to that.
Just because it's my first step I've been to, so when it comes to moving amendments to the recommendation, particularly clauses 7 and 8 and clause 1, the time.
We can do those as amending motions to the recommendation now.
Look, I do so move, Chair, if I can, to
Okay.
move with respect to clause general condition 1, that it's valid for a period of 4 years from the date of approval.
You can move
Each
all three at once if you wish, as one motion.
if I can, Chair. Then with clause 7, the tree replacement, tree retention, in the third paragraph, then prior to the commencing the on-site works for the, then remove the word delete and substitute that with the word construction. The trees identified then go on, it goes on, and then clause condition 8, that it must be replaced with a suitable species. Delete the word and delete the word at, delete the word a, delete the word scale, then then a mature tree appropriate to the original tree. So add the word appropriate.
Okay, just for clarity. So 7, you're agreeing with the deletion of the word development, construction?
Yes.
That's the only one changed to condition 7? And then condition 8, you're deleting, including the word construction of the development. It must be immediately replaced with a suitable species.
With a mature tree.
Suitable species.
Mature tree of a suitable species.
Of a suitable species.
And delete the word.
To the satisfaction of the council.
Yeah.
Cambridge.
That's right.
You have that?
That makes sense.
3. Okay, all right. Do I have a second? Thank you, councillor. Okay, do you wish to speak to the item further?
Well, I do. Thank you very much, Chair. Look, this is the town is very pleased with this application for development. To give context of the actual border site, it's immediately north to the proposed development. It's the Abbotsford Hospital, a private facility, and then Abbott Street itself, it includes many mixed buildings of mixed use. There's a planning consultancy. There's a multi-unit residential on the street, multi-unit residential development. There's also a very popular commercial development at the Railway Parade end. It's very arguably within walking distance of transport hubs. That's both road and rail. And for some, it would arguably be walking distance to the city for some, as well as salatable. It's the development itself is replacing an old single residence, which is not bounded by Brooks Lane and Cambridge Street. It's not on our heritage survey or heritage list. The building itself, when I did a visual inspection, I'd say it's in poorish state of repair from when I inspected the site. While there's some large trees there, and it's always very regrettable when large trees are lost, because we do know that a tree canopy is so important in our era of global warming, that there is retention of 5 trees. It's a little bit regrettable that there wasn't a tree as per the deemed provisions for a small tree on each lot, but I think the retention of those 5 trees is certainly I think passes. I think an acceptable standard given the development that's being put in place. As to the development itself, it is consistent with our local planning framework generally, and where it's not, I think it's of minor and inconsequential. Each pleasing to see that there's double car parking bays for each unit. I must say on Brooks Lane, the turning circle is tight but acceptable. When I went on that lane myself and I turned at the sort of blocked end of it, it was tight for sure. But I think that when I looked at the report, it's acceptable, and I think people will be able to get in and out. I don't, I think if with care. That's how I put it. In terms of the intersection between vehicle activity and pedestrian safety, I think it's sensible and best. It doesn't quite meet the conditions. I think different colour, different texture of this area would alert to the safety. Safety obviously being of critical importance. So having said that, the design also I think is innovative, and most importantly, it's visually appealing. Given that these buildings, the more dense they are, the longer they last. They have to be just as appealing now in 50 years' time as they are now. And I think this might meet that. So I'm content with what has been put forward to me.
We'll go back to the amending motion because we haven't voted on that.
The amending motion, yeah. Look, I think the amendment sought by the landowner or through his agents is acceptable. I think 4 years is no issue with that. That's pretty common now. And I think that the wording, I think that is, I accept the argument that it's a bit loose, and I think by putting a mature tree there, there's a general common understanding of what a mature tree is. It's not a colossal tree, it's something that can be planted. And I think that's a common understanding that I think the town's officers who will be ones who will be enforcing this would understand readily.
Okay, do we need to vote on the amending motion now? So did you want to speak to the amending motion at all, councillor?
I wanted to speak about the development. So
Yes, yeah, we'll do the amending motion.
I'll speak about the development. I'm sorry, Chair.
Okay, no, that's okay. All right.
I just wanted to speak, no issues, however, just technically, advice note 1 also refers to a time frame of 2 years. So I'm just wondering if we could update advice note 1 at the same time as condition 2 to refer to 4 years.
Okay, the mover and seconder agreeing to that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll make that as a part of the amending motion as well. I'll put the amending motion. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Councillor Barlow, do you wish to speak to the substantive?
actually, I'd like to thank the developer for putting this forward. Abbotsford Street is a short, small street, and anyway, it actually, this building, to me, the built form, etc., fits very nicely into this environment, and also the apartments, the way that they've been designed, look as though they'll enhance the life of those that are going to live there. Also, too, I'd just like to comment on the trees, maintaining those. I did actually know the older lady that lived there. She used to have a beautiful garden. So I'm very pleased that, you know, she'll be pleased that those trees are remaining in her memory. So, and actually, West Leederville is for infill. And I hope that we do get more developments like this, because this will enhance the area. So thank you very much. I mean, also, too, you've covered there the old problems of parking, etc., waste management, it's all here. But it did fascinate me that it had to go back because you had to put the powder room in the building, because actually I thought we were trying to conserve water, and then extra powder room will add water wastage, right? So anyway, so congratulations to you all for bringing this forward, and I do hope that more people that are doing development in the area will look at this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the item? Karen, yes.
Thank you. I support the proposal. I think it is a good infill proposal. It's close to the train stations and the facilities in Cambridge and Subiaco. It's in good walking distance of all of those centres. It's generally compliant with the current scheme, the draft scheme, and the draft structure plan and the R codes in terms of height and density. There is discretion over the private open space element, but I do understand where the design review panel was coming from and how you've followed some of those recommendations. But I find that private open space is adequately compensated by the Juliet balcony, by the landscaped common areas, by the retained regulated trees, and also with the roof terraces, which I think is a good innovation, particularly in an inner city location. It'd be really quite spectacular at night time. So I think you've got multiple uses of that rooftop facility. Technical reporting and the implementation approach is all subject, I think, to appropriate conditions. Just one minor thing, I'm happy to move it as an amendment if you like, or just take it administratively, but some of the numbering is out on conditions 6, 9, 7, 8 and 10. That's the order that they go, so they need to be in a proper order. And also advice note 14 has therefore a reference to a condition which would be numbered, and overall they would be renumbered because we're
Can you do that?
you don't need an amendment for that. Okay, lovely, thank you. Otherwise I'm comfortable with the amendments that we've made. I think a longer time frame for substantial commencement is consistent with the DAP's regulations and allows for a number of other technical studies to be done. And very much support the retention of those regulated trees. I think it's very important in an established area to maintain those leafy characteristics, and works towards the town's urban tree canopy aspect. Good surveillance, improved passive surveillance, in fact, in this area when you've got other fairly public uses around. So I think it's a good development. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers?
I'd like to speak in support of the application. In my view, it's aligned and consistent with the local planning scheme. I support the variations as per the design review panel. It's a good design. It's taken into consideration the retention of the trees, as many as possible, in the way that it's been designed. And yeah, I'll be supporting the proposal.
Thank you. Well, I'll make it unanimous in supporting the planning framework complies. The variations that are sought in context, there's a number of them, but all of them have a good design and planning outcome and construction outcome in due course. It's a very high standard of design and proposed construction. The longer time frame sought is appropriate. I mean, in this day and age when developers are facing funding and pre-sales before they commit to construction, it's pretty standard, and that's recognised with the 4-year time frame. Otherwise, they've got to come back every 2 years. One thing I did commend the developers is the 2 car bays per unit. I'm very familiar with Abbotsford Street. It's an area of high parking demand, and the council benefits from that because you've got a car park across the road. So, but that's a good outcome, and something, of course, that buyers in these high-end developments will insist upon anyway. So, apart from that, the landscaping I think is appropriate, given the site and the trees that are there, the explanation of the leafy area and the understory that's proposed, and the linking pathway between the lane and Abbotsford Street is a good outcome as well. So I'm fully supportive of the proposal and the conditions set. Having said that, I'll ask for the mover to close debate on the item.
Look, I think that we're all aligned. I think this is a quality design, and also I think the applicant has actually taken on board the design review panel. When I've appeared before the WA Planning Commission, the Strategic Planning Committee, the elements of they continually refer to elements of design, either the State Design Review Panel or ours Design Review Panel, and so it's well designed, and I think it'll be well received by the community. So that's all I need to say, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, well then, in that case, I'll put the amended recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the balance of the agenda. Item 4, Form 2 DAP applications done. Section 1, SAP recommendations. Part C, other business. Item 1 is just listing all the SAT applications in Supreme Court Appeals. And item 2 is closure of the meeting time, and that is 10:07 a.m. Thank you very much for all the presenters and participants and council staff. Thank you.